Imagine waking up one morning and hearing that the person leading your country might not even be eligible to contest the next election. Not because of something that happened yesterday, not even because of a new scandal, but because of documents that go back decades. School records, university records, a certificate, and even an old case in the United States. Now imagine that this argument has already been taken to Nigeria's highest court, and yet 3 years later, Nigerians are still talking about it. This is where we are today. A fight over paperwork, a fight over eligibility, and ultimately a fight over one question: who gets to appear on Nigeria's presidential ballot in 2027? To understand why this is happening now, we have to go back to 2023. Bola Ahmed Tinubu had just been declared the winner of Nigeria's presidential election, but his victory didn't end the argument. Two of his biggest opponents, Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi, went to court, and their argument wasn't simply we should have won the election. They also questioned whether Tinubu was qualified to be on the ballot in the first place. Among the issues they raised were Tinubu's academic records and a 1993 case in the United States involving a forfeiture of about $460,000 connected to an investigation into suspected drug trafficking. Those were serious allegations. But here is where the story gets complicated. The Presidential Election Petition Court rejected the petitions, and when the matter eventually reached the Supreme Court, Tinubu's election was upheld. Legally, that chapter was closed. But politics doesn't always work like a courtroom, because even when a judge says case closed, people can still walk away asking, but are we really done? And 3 years later, those questions have returned. By 2026, two separate legal efforts were once again challenging Tinubu's eligibility for the 2027 election. The first came from a civil society group. Their arguments focused on Tinubu's educational history. They questioned his claim of attending Government College Lagos, arguing that the timeline surrounding the school's establishment did not match the dates associated with his education. They also challenged whether he possesses a secondary school qualification required by the Constitution to contest for president. And then came another major allegation, that his university certificate was forged. The group asked the Federal High Court to intervene and prevent INEC from recognizing Tinubu's candidacy. Now, pause here for a moment, because this is where a story like this can easily become confusing. A court filing is not the same thing as a court judgment. Someone can make an allegation in court, the other side can deny it, and the judge still has to decide what the evidence actually proves. That distinction matters, because in Nigeria, allegations can travel across social media in seconds. Court judgments take much longer. Then, in August 2026, another case arrived. This time, the name attached to it was one Nigerians already knew very well, Atiku Abubakar. But there was a major difference from 2023. Atiku was now pursuing his political ambitions under the African Democratic Congress, and he personally went to the Federal High Court Registry in Abuja to support a fresh case against Tinubu, the APC, and INEC. This time, the focus was largely on Tinubu's National Youth Service Corps certificate. Atiku's legal team argued that presenting a forged certificate to INEC would have serious constitutional consequences, potentially enough to disqualify a presidential candidate. And Atiku wasn't hiding from the fight. He showed up, his team publicized the filing, and his message was straightforward: nobody is above the Constitution. That sounds simple, but think about what is actually at stake. If the allegations are true, the argument is that something fundamental went wrong before Tinubu ever got onto the ballot. If the allegations are false, then the question becomes, how long can a political figure continue to be accused of the same thing after the courts have already considered related claims? And that brings us to the heart of this entire story. Just when you thought this was going to remain a Nigerian courtroom battle, the story crossed the Atlantic. On August 14th, Barrister Kalu, a member of Atiku's legal team, submitted a petition to the European Commission in Brussels. The petition repeated several of the concerns surrounding Tinubu's document, academic history, and the old American forfeiture case. But let's be very clear here. This was not an European court judgment against Tinubu, and it was not Atiku personally filing a case before the European Commission. It was a petition asking European institutions to examine the issues being raised. And as of this recording, there is no indication that the European Commission has opened formal proceedings against Tinubu over the petition. So why take the argument all the way to Brussels? The answer may be pressure. international attention, and perhaps an attempt to make an issue that has dominated Nigerian politics impossible to ignore outside Nigeria. Whether that strategy works is another question entirely. Now let's turn the camera around because there's another side to this story. From Tinubu's camp, these allegations are not new. They were challenged in court in 2023. The court rejected the election petitions. The Supreme Court upheld Tinubu's victory. So from that perspective, what is happening now looks very different. To Tinubu supporters, this isn't simply about finding the truth. They see it as political strategy. Take an old controversy, bring it back, put it in a new court, attach new paperwork, and keep the story alive as the next election approaches. And honestly, you can understand why that argument resonates with some people. But there's another question we also have to ask. What if genuinely new evidence appears? Should Nigeria simply say, we have heard this before, move on? Or should evidence be examined? That's the difficult part, because democracy needs two things at the same time: accountability and finality. And this is where the story stops being just about Bola Tinubu. Because whether you support Tinubu, Atiku, Peter Obi, or nobody at all, there's something here that affects every Nigerian voter. Can our constitution give us an answer that everyone can trust? Think about it. If a court makes a decision and political actors simply find another route to reopen the same argument every election cycle, what does that say about the authority of the court? But there's another danger. What if institutions become so protective of finality that they stop looking seriously at new evidence? That would be just as dangerous, because the purpose of the law is not supposed to be protecting politicians. It is supposed to be establishing the truth according to evidence and law. So perhaps the real issue isn't Tinubu or Atiku. Perhaps the bigger question is, can Nigeria's institutions settle a political controversy without leaving millions of people permanently suspicious of the answer? As of this recording, the Nigerian court cases remain ongoing. The European Commission has now indicated that it will take action on the Brussels petition. But look at where we are. The 2027 election is just close. The campaigns have barely begun. Yet the legal battle over who would even be allowed to contest is already heating up. And that tells us something about Nigerian politics. Sometimes elections don't begin when politicians mount the campaign stage. Sometimes they begin much earlier, inside courtrooms, inside offices, and inside files containing documents that are decades old. This is a paper war, but behind every document is a political consequence, and behind every political consequence are millions of Nigerian voters. So the question isn't whether Tinubu is qualified to be on the 2027 ballot. The bigger question is this: when the final answers comes, will Nigeria trust it? Because a democracy cannot keep reopening the same wound forever. At some point, the courts must speak, the evidence must be examined, and when the final decision comes, everyone has to be prepared to accept it.